Okay, we are continuing with factoring, and we're going to look at something called factoring by grouping. It is a really big idea, especially as we move to the harder types of factoring problems. So factoring by grouping is really pretty simple. If you understood how we find a GCF, you're going to just do it twice. So whenever you see, there are some exceptions in really hard problems, but it would not be something I would typically give you. If you see four groups, so see here I have four groups, so they're separated by pluses or minuses. It's a group of things being multiplied together, x, y, etc. If I have four of the groups, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a GCF of the first two and a GCF of the back two. Now when I do that, something interesting is going to happen. I don't know what I've got, what they did. Let me just do it myself here. I'm going to pull a y out of the front, that's the GCF, and I'm going to get x plus 3. Now on the back end here, the GCF would be a 2. Now it's a positive 2, so I'm going to show that, plus 2, and that leaves me with x plus 3. Now if you did this correctly, you should get a match between the two groups. Now what's going to happen is this. I'm going to tell you what happens functionally, and I'll tell you why in just a second. This matching group is going to become one of the factors, and everything else is going to come together to make the second. Now here's why. If you were looking at this that we've created, a factor can be anything, any term. This is actually the GCF of this new line here. So the GCF of this line is x plus 3, so I could pull it out front. I'm taking out a GCF, and what would be left behind is y plus 2. Now, that's the reason why. But again, if you just want to see functional, some people don't see that, doesn't make sense. Take the GCF of the first two and the back two. So I've got it. The match becomes 1. Everything else becomes the other. Okay, you know how this works. Pause the video if you want to try it. I'm taking a GCF of the first two and out of the back. The front here I've got a y. The back here I've got a 3, and I'm going to show the sign. It is a plus 3, so I'm going to show that. This worked out because I've got the match, so I'm going to make the match one of them. Everything else goes together to make the other. Okay, now there are some important tricks on here. This is why they're going with some more of these. Look what happens when I have these groups. This back end group is starting with a negative, and it's going to be really important. Let me see if they've just done this. Yeah, so they took the GCF out of the front. You can pull an x. And out of the back, if you ever have a group, anytime if you have a GCF, you start with a negative term, take the negative along. So I'm not just taking a 2, I'm taking a negative 2. And that then will change the signs of everyone who follows. I get x plus 3. Okay, well I've got my match. So you see my two groups are going to be x plus 3, the matched one, and x minus 2. Okay, is there anything? Same thing here. I don't see anything different. Just the back end has got the negative. So I'm pulling 3x out of the front, negative 2 out of the back. Show the sign. I've got my match. Put them together. The matching group is 1. Everything else is the other. Okay, you know what we do. Pause it if you want to work these yourself. If not, I will. Okay, in the front end I've got x as a GCF. On the back end I'm taking the negative 5. It's going to change the signs that follow. Now if I have someone do this incorrectly, what they'll do is they'll stop here. This is not factored. This is not finished. X plus 2 is one of them. X minus 5 is the other. Okay, on the back end, same thing. Numbers are a little bit more complicated, but it's the same deal. What can we take here? We could take a 4x, and we'd get 5x minus 4. On the back end, I can take negative 3, it appears. Yeah, and I get 5x minus 4. Now notice what happens because this changed signs when I stole it, it did match. If you missed that, if you pulled out the negative or forgot to pull it out, these would not match. So you should pause and say, what did I do? I didn't pull it out right. Now, Now we're finished. Oh, is that all I have here? Yeah, I don't know why I didn't finish that with the other group, but so, all right, here's factoring by grouping. That's all there is to this one, and that should finish off that section. Usually it's GCFs and factoring by grouping together. So